It was about the impact of that label coming from a leader.
Precisely. It's about the power of language from someone in authority. Labeling a place bad can become this self-fulfilling prophecy. It implies the situation is fixed, maybe even deserved. It strips away the belief, both inside and outside the community, that things can get better.
For this episode of the Kubik Report, I'd like our staff to reflect on an important lesson about human respect, decency, and spiritual potential that I first learned from Indiana First Lady Judy O'Bannon. Bev and I have enjoyed a friendship with her that goes back 26 years, beginning when I was invited to travel with her to Russia as part of a delegation of nonprofit executives, business leaders, and educators from Indianapolis. That trip gave me the opportunity to get to know her better, and from it grew several initiatives, including bringing individuals from Moldova to Indianapolis for medical treatment, as well as launching a wheelchair matching program. So now I'll turn this over to our staff, who will share what I came to understand from a great, caring civic leader here in Indianapolis.
We're here to unpack your source material, pull out the key insights, and really get to the heart of the matter for you. Today, we're tackling, well, what seems like a simple question, but it's got layers, hasn't it? Rooted in philosophy, maybe faith, too. Can a community really be called bad? Our sources center on a reflection by Victor Kubik, specifically about a conversation he had that really changed his thinking.
Yeah, and the person who sparked that change was former Indiana First Lady Judy O'Bannon.
Quite a figure.
Absolutely. So our mission today really is to follow that thread. How did a meeting about something as specific and tragic as Chernobyl relief morph into this profound lesson about hope, potential, and how we even talk about communities?
The sources suggest it's about language, too, not just action.
Exactly. For a real leader, the words used to describe suffering matter just as much as, the actual help provided.
And the setting for this big realization wasn't some seminar room. It kicked off during these high-level humanitarian talks about kids affected by Chernobyl.
Yeah, talk about an unexpected starting point.
Definitely.
So Kubik first meets Judy O'Bannon. She was the wife of Governor Frank O'Bannon at the time because she was looking for contacts, high-level ones.
For the Chernobyl relief effort.
Precisely. She wanted to connect with a particular Ukrainian pediatrician who was well-known in the field. This was serious, practical stuff, humanitarian work.
And the source material mentions their first chat at the governor's mansion was booked for just, 20 minutes?
That's right, just a quick briefing. But apparently, O'Bannon got so drawn in, so curious and engaged, that it turned into this unexpected 2-hour deep dive, really animated.
So she wasn't just going through the motions?
Not at all. She was fully invested, and that led to more. She invited Kubik to join a delegation going overseas.
To Russia?
Yes, visiting these new nonprofits that were starting up. And it was a serious group. University, people from Indianapolis, business leaders, religious figures, nonprofit heads.
A real mix. And Kubik was key because he could translate.
Yeah, his ability to translate Russian to English quickly made him essential. But here's where you really see O'Bannon's style. She wasn't just about the official schedule.
What do you mean?
Well, the sources say she'd often break away with her bodyguard, and Kubik, for translating, of course.
Break away to do what?
To see the real picture. They'd go to busy local post offices, wander through open-air markets. She'd talk to people just standing on the street, even people begging.
Wow, really getting boots on the ground.
Absolutely. She wanted unfiltered information right from the source to see how things really were for ordinary people.
And this wasn't just fact-finding, was it? It led to actual projects.
Oh, definitely. Lasting ones. There's this wheelchair matching program. LifeNet still runs it today, I believe.
Okay.
Work with orphans in Moldova came out of it, too. And O'Bannon personally helped arrange for children with really severe medical problems to come to Indianapolis hospitals for treatment.
So a huge amount of compassion and action.
Enormous. And understanding that context, the diplomacy, the service, the sheer effort is really important. It sets up the main point.
The scolding moment.
Exactly. Because she'd already shown this deep level of service. Then came the lesson on perspective.
Okay, let's get to that. Kubik admits he made this comment. He called it unthoughtful, even brash. Visiting O'Bannon, he apparently referred to some areas in Indianapolis, struggling areas, as bad neighborhoods.
And bang, that stopped everything. O'Bannon's response was instant, sharp.
What did she say?
The source quotes her directly. In this house, you will never call any neighborhoods in this city bad.
Wow, that's pretty definitive. Not just a suggestion.
No, a clear instruction, a boundary.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Mhm.
Practically speaking, leaders do have to identify areas with problems, right? High crime, lack of resources. Don't they need some kind of label to allocate help effectively? Is this just, being overly politically correct?
I don't think she saw it that way. It wasn't about avoiding the description of problems. It was about avoiding the label of being inherently bad, hopeless.
Okay.
Her reasoning, according to Kubik, was all about hope. It was the foundation.
How so? Explain that connection.
She told him something like, if people knew I felt that way about where they live, that community would have absolutely no hope.
Ah, I see. So it wasn't about her feelings being hurt or even theirs directly. It was about the impact of that label coming from a leader.
Precisely. It's about the power of language from someone in authority. Labeling a place bad can become this self-fulfilling prophecy. It implies the situation is fixed, maybe even deserved. It strips away the belief, both inside and outside the community, that things can get better.
So the word itself becomes a barrier to fixing the problem. The leader's role, then, isn't just to manage problems, but to embody possibility.
Exactly. She summed it up. People need to look to leaders as those who hold out hope. It elevates leadership beyond just resource management. It's about projecting potential.
And this is the insight Kubik really grabbed onto, connecting it to something bigger.
Yes, that's the leak he made. He saw O'Bannon's passionate belief in the potential of struggling people, even in tough circumstances, as mirroring, in a way, a divine perspective.
Okay, how does that work? From a First Lady's practical wisdom to God's view.
It's about potential again. Kubik points out that despite seeing immense suffering globally, he holds on to the idea that God, as the creator, knows the actual incredible human potential in everyone.
Regardless of their current state.
Regardless, if God created us, the thinking goes, he doesn't see his creation as fundamentally bad or discardable, even when it's broken or struggling.
The source mentions a specific article that was a kind of tipping point for Kubik's understanding here. Something called Is This the Only Day of Salvation? A 1958 reprint. Why was that title, that idea, so key for him?
Well, without getting too deep into specific theology, that article relates to the idea that God's plan for salvation isn't necessarily limited just to this current lifetime or this present age. It suggests a future opportunity, a time when everyone might have a chance for understanding and redemption. It speaks to a broader scope for God's work.
So it offered a way to reconcile seeing so much suffering now with a belief in ultimate restoration.
Exactly. If you believe there's a future point where all the present suffering and evil will be removed, then the idea of any person or place being permanently a lost cause or intrinsically bad dissolves. It doesn't fit that framework.
That provides a theological underpinning for O'Bannon's insistence on hope then.
It does. It makes it radically inclusive.
And the source links this to Scripture. Like
Yeah.
John 3.16, God so loved the world.
That he gave his only begotten son. Yeah, the emphasis is on the world, not just the parts we approve of, not just the good neighborhoods.
So the promise is universal.
That's the implication. No one, no place is automatically disqualified. And to really hammer this home, the source material gives biblical examples. Places and people everyone at the time definitely thought were bad.
Okay, let's look at those. First up, Samaria. For a first-century Jew, that was like the definition of a bad neighborhood, right?
Oh, absolutely despised. There was deep historical antagonism. The Samaritans had mixed their worship of God with pagan practices centuries earlier after the Assyrian conquest.
So religiously and culturally, they were seen as corrupt.
Completely. Jews traveling north would often take a longer route just to avoid setting foot in Samaria. Real animosity there.
Yet, the source points out Christ deliberately goes through Samaria, sits by a well.
And who does he strike up a conversation with? A Samaritan woman.
An outsider already.
Doubly so. The text mentions she had a complicated personal life, 5 husbands. Socially, religiously, politically, she was on the margins.
And it's to her, in that place, that he reveals his identity.
Yes, he tells her, I who speak to you am he, the Messiah, revealing himself there to her. It's a powerful statement against writing anyone off. If this is where the Messiah makes his identity known, then no community is inherently bad or beyond reach.
That same kind of reversal shows up in the Good Samaritan parable too, doesn't it? Luke 10.
It does. You have a man attacked, robbed, left for dead on a dangerous road. Definitely a bad neighborhood situation, physically and maybe morally.
If the good people walk by.
The respected religious figures, a priest, a Levite, they see him, they cross the road, they do nothing. Then comes the Samaritan, the person from the hated region. He's the one who stops, shows compassion, tends to the man's wounds, takes him to an inn, even pays for his care.
So the bad neighbor turns out to be the good one.
Exactly. He's the example of loving your neighbor. It completely flips the listener's expectations about who's good and who's bad.
And it's not just places, right? The source also lists individuals with pretty rough pasts who weren't written off.
Yeah, a quick rundown shows this pattern repeats. Look at Rahab.
The harlot.
Yes, a prostitute in Jericho. Yet she acts in faith, helps the Israelite spies, and she ends up listed in Hebrews 11 as an example of faith. And not only that, she's actually in the lineage of Jesus Christ. From prostitute to ancestor of the Messiah. That's quite a transformation.
Talk about potential realized.
Yeah.
What about Sodom? That's often seen as the ultimate wicked place.
True, but Jesus uses it in a surprising way. When he's criticizing Capernaum, a town where he'd performed miracles,
Right.
he says it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for them. Meaning even Sodom, with its history, might fare better than a town that saw the Messiah face to face and still rejected him. It implies even Sodom isn't utterly beyond some kind of consideration in the grand scheme. It puts their rejection in perspective.
And then there's the Apostle Paul.
The ultimate turnaround story, maybe. He himself wrote about being a persecutor, even involved in the murder of Christians.
A sworn enemy of the early church.
Absolutely. And yet, he becomes arguably the most influential apostle, writing huge chunks of the New Testament. If God can work through someone like Paul,
Then the idea of discarding people from so-called bad neighborhoods just doesn't hold up.
that's the core insight Kubik took away, yeah. God sees the potential, always.
Okay, so let's synthesize this. We have O'Bannon's practical lesson about leadership and hope. We have the theological idea of future restoration and inherent potential. And we have these biblical examples challenging our labels.
It all points to the same conclusion. God, knowing the potential he built into everyone, is far from discarding people from so-called bad neighborhoods.
And there's a future promise mentioned, too, from Ezekiel.
Yes, Ezekiel 36.26. It talks about God eventually giving people a new spirit, a new heart, and a new mindset, a promise of fundamental inner transformation for everyone.
Which sounds incredibly hopeful.
It is, and Jeremiah 31 captures that ultimate vision beautifully. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people.
A complete internal alignment.
That's the end goal pictured. So based on these sources, you really can't sustain the idea of lost causes or bad neighborhoods, whether you're looking at it from a dedicated civic leadership angle like O'Bannon's or a broader spiritual perspective. It's all about potential waiting to unfold.
What's really striking is that the core lesson for Kubik wasn't about whether to help. He was already doing that. It was about the language, the mindset, the belief system behind the help.
The fundamental assumption.
So here's the thought to leave you with. If this ultimate divine plan involves renewal and a new mindset for everyone, eventually.
Thank you for listening to us today on the Kubik Report. We welcome you to share this podcast and tell your friends about it. We can be found on a variety of platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Podbean, and other places where you get your podcasts. You can easily find us on any browser by typing in the Kubik Report in the address bar. Remember, Kubik is spelled K-U-B-I-K. We'd love to hear from you, so send us your suggestions and questions to vic@kubik.org. That's vic@kubik.org. Again, thank you for listening. Come back soon for more, and have a great day.